We are live. Thank you so much for joining Unlock the Middle, Navigating Leadership. This is the AP Roundtable number 12. Can't believe we made it this far. But here we go. We're going to keep pushing forward. We got some excellent guests tonight joining Mike and I as we talk tonight about building relationships. So if you're watching this live, make sure you're dropping some comments for us. If you want to get involved, send me a DM at AJ Bianco. I'll bring you in the chat, have a conversation that way. If you don't feel like showing your face, you got the comments there where you can let us know how you're feeling. If you're catching this on a replay, make sure you follow Unlock the Middle. Make sure you follow AP Mike. Make sure you follow AJ, and we'll let you guys know when our next one is coming up so you can join us then. But without further ado, let me hit it up with my co-host for this, AP Mike. Mike, how you doing?
Hey guys, how we doing out there? How's everybody doing? Good to be back in the show, back in business over here. So I'm Mike Lavelle, assistant principal for 11 years now here in Massachusetts, public middle school. Very proud of that. I'm glad to be back here. Glad to be talking to everybody. You know, it's important now, especially as we come into these winter months up here in New England, and you know, getting close to the holidays and things like that. You know, AP's talking. This is the best professional development that I've ever been part of. We got, you know, folks from all over the country talking about what we do. So it's good to be back here. Good to see everybody.
Absolutely. We are, you know, assistant principals, as said in the article that we're going to try to get the author on here, Denise Superville. We're going to get her here one day. We have the most important job in the building. So I'm going to introduce two outstanding assistant principals. We got Sean and Marty. So Sean, why don't you first start us off? Tell us what you do, where you're from, and what your role is on a daily basis in your school.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Sean Jaramillo. I'm coming to you from, I guess, kind of sunny Southern California. Today we had a little bit of rain, but on the whole, it's really beautiful weather. I'm excited to be here joining these guys and chatting. I've been following along the AP Roundtable for a while now, so I feel honored to have this discussion tonight. I'm AP at a middle school. We have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. We're a really small district, an unincorporated part of LA County. So I'm right on the border between Orange County and Los Angeles County. And my first year AP at this particular school, but I've been AP 3 years before that at another school. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. Looking forward to it tonight, guys.
That's awesome, Sean. Thank you so much. Been following you for a while, so I'm glad we were able to connect. Marty, same question to you. Tell us where you're from, what you do, and what your role like on a daily basis.
Yeah, Marty Latai. So it looks like we got like the West Coast and the East Coast covered. So I'm your friendly Midwesterner in the middle. So Marty Latai from Oak Creek, Wisconsin, about 15 minutes outside of Milwaukee. I'm in my 3rd year as an AP for Oak Creek High School, which is the 7th biggest high school in the state of Wisconsin. So I am the 12th grade AP for a large high school for about 2,100 kids. Previously coming from an alternative background. So when I look at the makeup of my team, I have a really strong team. I am definitely kind of the, you know, PBIS, school culture, hands-on with students. So I really am embracing that. And I'm really feel lucky and fortunate to get to connect with multiple people today, in particular you guys. So thanks for having me.
Oh, no doubt, man. Thank you so much. All right, so let's kick it off. We wanted this episode to be about relationships. So let's talk about relationships. What's something you do in your building to build relationships with your students? We got middle school, we got high school, we got tons of students around us. How do you build relationships with your kids? I want to take that one first. I'll just shoot it out there for you guys.
Yeah, I'll get started, I suppose. So for me, you know, with the quantity of students we have, we run on an 8-period day. So like for rule one for me is when that bell rings, if I'm not in like a meeting, I'm out in the halls immediately. I have a couple different areas that I go from spot to spot. But really, as kids walk by, it's like eyes on kids, saying hello, how are you doing? I love doing like fun stuff with like, hey, what's the best thing about your day so far? You know, give me your high and low of the week. You know, even fun stuff like what's your go-to place to get food after school? Just like getting the kids to build rapport, you know, and it's like baseball. You know, you're not going to bat 1,000. You have some kids that totally like dog you on conversation, but you just keep taking more hacks at it. So I would say that's probably like my initial strategy throughout the day. meet a new kid, get another name, get eyes on them, and introduce myself.
Man, Marty, that's funny, dude. Because like I'm looking at my middle school kids and I talk to them and I say something and they make that face and I'm just like, oh, I said something that shows my age, so I'm gonna stop talking now and go the other way.
Right. Absolutely, it happens.
I'll
Sean,
go
go ahead.
next.
Why don't you go ahead.
Yeah, I don't mind. I do gate duty in the morning. So we have like 4 gates that our kids come through.
Okay.
So one of them, I go and kind of open up for them a little bit early. They're the kids that walk to school. So as they come through that gate, it's a high five, a handshake, an elbow bump, something COVID friendly. It's usually the same kids, so I know them all by name. So that's definitely important. One thing that I am really diligent about is trying to, like you said, learn their names. Who are they? What are they all about? And then once they come through that gate, all of our kids gather in the little cafeteria area just before school starts. And I'm just present, walking around saying good morning, monitoring breakfast. I'm out at nutrition. I'm out at lunch. I have one of those bullhorns, those megaphone things. They know me as like the bullhorn guy. And I'll say jokes on there. I'll yell a kid's name from across the blacktop. Just that fun rapport. And I'm always out there. After school, same thing, large grass area, just being present. It's funny how many kids will want to come up and say something in that megaphone. So I use it as like an incentive, do your work, get your stuff done, and you can come tell a joke or, Friday fun or something like that. So yeah, it's really just being me, having fun. They know me as kind of a goofball. I'm kind of a geeky guy, and I'm okay with that. I don't follow all the sports and I don't know all their anime stuff, but I tell them I'll look into it. But it's just that issue of, it's like you said, my age is showing. I'm not as contemporary, but I will surprise them if I see something on TikTok. If I can, throw a curveball at them, like, oh, you know that song, or you know what that is? I'm like, well, I had to look it up, but yeah, I know something about it. So just making those connections with the kids, and obviously doing the walkthroughs as much as I can. The walk-in talks, like, hey, I noticed this kid's not as himself today, so let's go for a little walk, and they'll open up a little bit. But just being present. I guess the megaphone's probably the biggest thing. That's what I'm known for. They can hear me from all across that campus, and it's not like yelling at the kids. It's just it's just my shit, and I'm going with it. And I told the staff I'll buy them little mini ones just so they can be like me. And then I also do the morning announcements, so they hear me on the intercom, and I have like a live time reaction. Like there was one thing, they said something about we were having the water bottles, and some kids were putting their mouth into the water bottle just to get something to drink, the dispensable fountain. Yeah. And as I'm reading it, my live reaction was like, that's nasty. Well, I said that in the intercom, and that was just a joke for the rest of the day. They're like, that's nasty. I'm like, well, you guys are really doing that? And like, well, we're thirsty. So we had to work out a system to solve that problem. But yeah, it's fun. I have a good time with the kids.
Man, Sean, I appreciate that. I feel like if you and I were in the same building, it would just be like a comedy routine. Because like, no joke, when I was talking to some of my teachers outside, I do arrival every day. The kids come see me, they say good morning, they look at me, make faces, make a joke. I'm like, I think I've achieved what I wanted in such a short time this year. I was like, these kids are looking at me like, why is my vice principal such a goofy ass dude? And that's what it is. That's what I want them to do. Because if I can't have fun, then they can't have fun. So I appreciate what you're sharing there, Sean. I love that, man.
Yeah. I think it's great that 4 of us have talked about, APs across the country, and we've all talked about our duties already, right? That's what we're talking about here. Exactly. We're all on duty. Arrival, lunch, dismissal, the whole thing. And I'm in the same boat. So I open the door 7:10 in the morning, and I greet the kids who are coming in the door, just like that. I got handshakes with a couple of kids. That happens, right? I call it the 7-piece if there's 7 moves in it. And I go, I'll go 5-piece. Let's do the 5-piece, right? We do all that sort of thing. And it's just those little things, those little tiny things that you create, or those things that you make. And I do have the same position in the morning. So I see a lot of the same kids that come in. So I've noticed that, that we were talking about earlier before the show came on. We know that adolescence starts at age 11, right? They're very early. And height of emotionality is age 13. So sometimes I'm good morning. Hey, how's it going? And sometimes I get just walk right by. And then other times it's like, Mr. Lavelle, what's up? What's happening? Right. So these are the kind of things and these emotions that you go through. So it's really good to be that kind of like that solid figure. They know they're going to see me in the morning. I'm going to smile. I'm going to say good morning. And I've stayed away from, and this is just a little advice for everybody out there. Don't ask a middle school kid, how are you? Because that's a loaded question for a middle school kid. They got a million different things going on in your head, right? So I say, what's new? Good morning, guys. What's new today? Right. And it's in the morning, right? And so they got, or if it's at lunchtime, I don't say, how's your day? Because that's loaded again. There's a million things going on in their head. How's lunch? I keep it time specific, right? And if lunch is, oh, it's horrible. I'm like, come on, we made it to lunch and you're eating. Well, I'm not asking you to do math or history. Let's just have this conversation. Be human with the kids. That's how I have my relationships. You guys are talking about using comedy and being, lighthearted like that. Yeah, you come and see me when you mess up. That's true. But I am a real human being too with feelings. And I can do that too. And I kind of like be human with my students. And after hours, we had a basketball practice today, and some of the girls are waiting for their ride home, and they're like doing this kind of TikTok challenge thing. And I'm like, they're like looking at me like, is he gonna like say something? I'm like, what do you girls got? This is after hours. Let me try this. Like, just trying to hop in there and do that. It's a different sort of scene, and you got to let your guard down sometimes. And that's what creates a relationship with a middle school kid. And I think that's the best advice I can give out there. And you got to be yourself. Bring your own authentic self to the game.
I love that, Mike. You're not gonna see me on any TikToks though, so I don't know.
No, I'm not recording. You
think you're not recording. You think you're not recording. All right, let's take a pause real quick. We have Phoebe join us. Phoebe, thank you so much for coming. Real quick, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you do, what's your role, and what's your daily routine look like?
I'm Phoebe, and I'm from Capel, and I'm a surgical coordinator at CJS.
All right, thank you. All right, so let's go back to relationships real quick. We talk about a lot of the positive things we're doing. What do you guys find is the hardest part for building relationships with our students?
For me, I guess someone actually gave me this compliment once, and I've always stuck with it. And they're like, Marty, you're really good at building a relationship and acknowledging the kid that kind of hides, the people don't notice. Maybe they don't have loads of friends. They don't draw your attention. And I don't know if I did that intentionally, but I think I kind of just talk to everybody in those moments that Sean and you and Mike have all kind of talked about already. So for me, it's as a human, when you get denied in the conversation or you get put off because it's a behavior issue, keep going. I think that's what it is. And I've had a lot of moments where I've tried to get to know this kid, or I've only seen him, but I can't much response. But then there is a moment, even though I work at a large school, where they need me for something, or they have an issue and they could use support. And that's kind of when I get when I get my eyes open, I'm like, all right, this is my chance to get this kid. This is my chance to be there for them, or this is my chance to really establish that relationship. And lots of times it's not in a great situation, but at least now this is my chance to establish that connection.
I think for me, one of the challenges is my heart and my desire is to get to know the kids, be real with them, figure out who they are, but you don't want to probe. You want to respect their privacy. You want to respect their boundaries. They are still trying to get to know me. I'm in that position of who is this guy? He just showed up on our campus this year, and now he's asking me all these questions. But I feel asking questions is how I figure out which direction to take with a kid. Does it go left? Does it go right? And so I want to be not nosy and not creepy, but I also want to be intentional with getting to know them. So just finding that balance, and really making sure that I am coming across as me, and that I do want to support them and I want to be there for them. But I know it is also 50-50, when they need it or when they're ready to, as long as I'm consistent, hopefully they'll see me as that figure that they can come to, so we can help solve their problems or get them back on track, whatever that we need to do.
I think when I have the students in my office at that point where they just got kicked out of class, right, something like that for their behavior, I always start off the conversation with, all right, look, I need you to be honest with me, right? Let's tell the truth, even if it's hard. I'm going to be here before this conversation, during it, and after it. I want them to know, like, look, I'm going to be here. This is not the end of everything. It might be a mistake that you made, but you're kind of reassuring them of the future too. And I think that's a really that's the way I start off the conversations with a lot of my students. And then I also ask them to, don't tell your story in such a way where you're not accountable or responsible for anything, right? So they kind of start in a different place that way, knowing I'm going to be there for them at the end of this whole thing. But we might have to talk about some consequences here too. So it's more of a conversation than a trial in my office. And that's really how I try to ingrain this kind of restorative chat that I do with them, all the time. So it's, kind of like, what happened? What's your version? I already got so-and-so's version of the story. What's your version? Right now, what were you thinking about at the time? What were you thinking about when you did that? And most of the time it's always trying to be funny, or I was trying to do this. And then it's like, all right, now that you had some time to think about it, what would you do differently? I'm having the conversation instead of this ridicule type scenario. And I'm like, all right, well, you're removed from class for your behavior, so you know what that means. And they'll spit it back to me. Oh, that's lunch detention, Mr. Val. I'm like, yeah, well, it's December. You know what that is. But you got to understand, you're just in your learning environment, right? Like, you got to make sure. And I ask them to do these 3 things. And it's always avoid arguing with adults, take care of business, and make sure your actions don't disturb the learning environment. And they can tell me which one they did. And now we got to work on a plan for the next time. So having that conversation instead of like I said, like a trial, I think my kids respect that more. And I don't get a lot of yelling and blowing out. I mean, sometimes that happens, trust me. Mm-hmm. It's not perfect every time. Sometimes there's a lot of emotion that's going on and that sort of thing. But most of the time, that's where it's at. And my man Moriarty over here, sometimes when the kid is like, you just had a serious interchange, right, with what happened, and they got kicked out of class. And at that point, they're just looking for somebody to tell their side of the story to. That's important, right? They do need you at that point. So listening is another way to build a relationship with the kids that I have in my office.
Yeah, that's so important. I love that, guys. That was some awesome responses. Let's flip it here a little bit. So we talk about students, right? We all know we're in this business because of the students. We want our students to learn, grow, be part of one big culture and climate. But there's also another part of this too, and that's the staff. So, Sean, we were talking earlier. You're in the first year in your building. My second year in my building. Building a relationship with the staff is a little difficult because it's all about trust. So let's go around real quick, and Sean, if you feel like jumping into this, how are you building a relationship with your staff, especially right now during these times? That's incredibly difficult to build those relationships, bounce around. We talked about the fact that our daily roles are all over the place, that we can't get the things done we need to do. How do we be in classrooms? So what are we doing to build relationships with our staff while we're in our buildings?
For me, I know one of my main goals and priorities coming into the building was to be that observer, kind of take a step back, not come in, start changing things all over the place. What's the history of the campus? What do I need to know? What's that tribal knowledge that these teachers and these staff can give to me so that I can help make the best informed decision when it comes down to it? So listening to them first and foremost, going to them for input, definitely being that communicator, that servant leader that I need to be, because I feel I do have a little bit of things to prove. I'm in a unique position. So what are the questions? What am I missing? Give me that input, really validating who they are and their expertise and what they bring to the table. Yeah, it's difficult to pop in to classrooms all the time, and I kind of make it a priority to call them if I can on the phone rather than just email. Just that personal connection. If I see them in the hall, do you have a quick minute? Making sure that they know they can come to me, pop in. And so just really being visible, really being present, really being transparent with them. Hey, it's okay. And I have said it a million times, I don't have the answer to that. Let me look into it for you and I'll get back to you, because I'd rather say that than an instant solution that I have to then go back and change my mind on. So really taking a little bit of time to think about it and just hearing them out. And I think it's okay. It's going all right. On top of everything else we have to do, but yeah, just really being there for them.
Yeah, from my lens, there's a couple of things I kind of wrote down. Like, I've tried to use my Google Calendar for everything. So I'll just even, I'll look at our master schedule. When is Mr. M teaching this class? Boom, I'm going to pop in. I know that's a rowdy group he's got in there, or that's a class. They're always doing some great things in there. So, I don't go every day. I don't go every week, but I know like I drop it on my calendar weekly, hoping that I can get there once every 2 weeks. I know I know that you kind of mentioned it before, like being new to a building, like I try to honor all of our traditions, make myself like known and get to know some of our veteran teachers, ones that are 25, 30 years in, because I know they have a strong, powerful voice. Like at our school, we have this thing called Cafe, where our ID program makes lunch every 2 weeks, and they serve the staff. They make the lunch and take the orders, and like loads of staff go down. So I go down there, I take pictures. I just try to like connect with the staff on it. So honoring those traditions. I think a big thing too is like just timely responses, especially if it's like a sensitive matter. Like this has happened to you. You've emailed me relatively quickly. I'm going to address it. I might not be able to fix the problem instantly, but I see it. I acknowledge it. I want to get your opinion on it, and then I will get back to you on it. So I think like, because there are some teachers out there that like, they don't want to go to administration. Like I'm just going to handle it. I'm going to handle my business. I'm going to take care of it on my end. But I want them to know like, hey, if you ask for help, you're going to get help. I'm not going to just listen to you. I will. And I know sometimes as administrators, we talk about our job can't just be fix people's problems. But I guess I would push back on this. When someone's out for help, you better listen to them and say, hey, I'm here to help you with it. So I would say that's something that I've really tried to do. And then like small stuff like, hey, when is English 11 meeting? I'm going to come up. And the first time I came up, I think they're like, what is Mr. Latai doing here? I'm like, I'm just here to listen and learn from you guys. Like I have nothing to say. I'm not taking notes. I'm here to watch like good teaching and good teamwork. So just, I think those small little pieces, it's like investing money. You don't see great returns right away. You keep doing it small bits over time, and hopefully you see something on the backside of it. So.
Yeah, I can say the same thing about the faculty and my staff. So I've been as an AP for 11 years, but I've been in my current building for 4. So I have a relationship with the teachers, and they know I'm when it gets hard and when it gets tough, especially with the students, I'm not gonna just give up. I'm gonna be there. So I think after you go through certain relationships and years with students, and remember this student and remember that student, and you can kind of like relate to the current situation to things that you've gone through in the past, that's a really good way to bridge that gap with some of the things that are going on currently. And I think definitely respecting time. If I might pop up to that common planning time meeting and have something to talk about, because I know you guys are like these kids making your hair pull out. Here's what I do, and I never say here's what you should do. I always say, here's what I do when I talk with him. And maybe something that I say, maybe a little bit of what I'm talking about may be able to translate into what you're dealing with in class too. And then in the back of my head, like you're saying, Marty, is the concept of blocking off that time. Maybe I swing up there. Now I'm up there during that class period just to see what's going on and what's happening. And it's like, kind of riding the bus, right? Like everybody's going to be good when I'm riding the bus. When I'm there in your class, kids aren't going to be doing what they normally do. They know that's not going to work. But having those conversations and being there during a time where, and sometimes, teachers don't want you in your common planning time. Look, I need to work this out with my team. And I respect that so much too. So it's this line that we have to walk, like, where am I needed? Who needs that ear? And I love, talking with my teachers and just listening sometimes. And if any of my faculty are out there right now, they know I'll listen to them. And I'll try to do my best to get back to them right away, or, follow up with them, that sort of thing. But sometimes I wish they would lead with that and say, look, I'm just sounding off right now. Because a lot of times I go into solution mode, right? You're trying to solve problems. You're trying to help. That's the nature of the assistant principal, right? Assistant, we want to help. We want to do it. And at the same time, I got my responsibilities that I need to do. And my secretary's on the walkie, on the radio, talking about Mr. Lavelle. I got 3 kids that need your attention down here. Okay, but I'm in the middle of, so it's really taking that moment and being in that moment, and then moving forward and taking that everything as it comes, but having that second and really being present with your staff.
Yeah, Mike, that's so true. I feel like a lot of, and I think Sean, you were hitting on this as well. Uh, it's like I want to impress them. I want to listen. I don't want to rush into things. I want to make sure I'm doing right by the staff. But at the same point, it's like, am I doing enough to really help them? Am I making the connections that I'm making? It's so difficult, and I don't want to like go in there and make a drastic change. Like I have big visions for the school. I'm really trying to really plan accordingly to make it work for them. So I mean, anybody out there, if you have ideas of what you're doing with your staff, like I know our guy Josh Tovar, who's watching us live, this guy is like the relationship guy. If you don't follow him on Twitter at MPA Go Jaguars, and this guy, he's with his staff, he's doing things with them to build those relationships. It's outstanding. I don't know where he gets the bankroll for it, but he's doing some big things for his staff to build those relationships. It's pretty phenomenal. All right, so let's keep rolling with this. We're about 25, 30 minutes in. I don't know how far we are. Let's talk about going forward, right? As we do the AP roundtable, I think one of the things we like to do is kind of talk about our passions, is things that we love for our school and where we want to go. As I said, I have big visions for what I want to do in my school. So for you guys, what is the big passion project for you going forward? Marty, I know you're a big PBIS guy. I'm going to talk to you because that's something I'm trying to implement as I go into year 2, and I'm a little behind, but I'm finding ways to bring in PBIS in certain ways. But what are your big passions for your school, for your job, for your title? What do you want to do over the next 6 to 8 months? And I'll throw that out there. Whoever wants to take it, run with it.
I mean, I've been really inspired by the work of Joe Sanfilippo. I'm not sure if who out there is aware of him, but his branding book. So a year or two ago when I got on, we kind of rebranded our school, like updated our logo, our colors, like we painted, we took down a lot of old stuff from the school, kind of freshened it up. I'm from Wisconsin, so if you're a Badger, your phrase is on Wisconsin. If you're a Raider, it's just win, baby. It's all those different things. We have our go nights, our striving ever to be better from our school song. And on the PA announcement, once on Monday, once on Friday, I tell the students, I give little messages. And at the end, I say, and if no one told you yet, you matter because you're an Oak Creek Knight. Kids always react to it. They love it. They're telling me, Mr. Thigh, don't forget you matter. So we've really taken a lot of great steps with that. So this last couple months, we've launched our PBIS program, and coming from an alternative school, my understanding of PBIS was things like be kind, be respectful, be an eagle, get eagle bucks, turn your eagle bucks in for blow pops and stuff like that. And I just knew that wouldn't go out of high school. So we have this great Night of the Month program where teachers have this postcard with kind of like these castle standards on it and all these like kind of our Knight's Code, I guess you'd call it. And they work on it at an advisory. And then once a month, 25 teachers nominate 25 kids. They write on the back of this postcard. It gets delivered to the kid. It's this pretty much heartfelt message about, hey, thanks for demonstrating integrity and self-awareness and being respectful. Most of the kids are like, it hits them like, oh man, like this is how this adult feels about me. Mm-hmm. They get their picture taken, gets hooked up on the wall on this big board we have, and then we have this little Breakfast of Champions celebration to follow it up. And again, talking about location stuff, people in Oak Creek, Wisconsin love Chick-fil-A. So Chick-fil-A is this generous business, and they drop off sandwiches on this Breakfast of Champions Day. And so it was our first time just doing it this past month, and getting great reactions from parents and students and staff. It's an investment of time that means a lot to those specific teachers that are nominating, opposed to chasing a bunch of stuff. So that's just been really something exciting work that we've kind of kicked off this year. That's so far we're going to grow it, and we're going to keep going. Our committee has some parent reps and student reps, and the best information that we pull out of these meetings are the student reps. Students have the best ideas, they have the best things. So those have been some of the great work that we've kind of got to complete at Oak Creek High School.
Marty, that's dope. That is just dope, and I love that. And
well said.
I love it. and it's something that I'm going to steal and implement for our school.
I got you.
Thank you.
You let me know.
No, I'll be in touch for sure. I'll be in
Don't
touch for
take
sure.
don't take my Chick-fil-A hookup. I really
Nah,
got
that's all right.
I cornered them. You know.
That's okay. I don't know what we got around here, but I'll find somebody to hook us up. Sean, how about you? Big passion projects? What are you proud of, or what are you working on going forward?
Ironically enough, we were sharing our school plan today at the staff meeting, and one of the things that we were looking to explore and kind of, I guess, make better is really our PTSA connection and how we use them to celebrate small successes of our students. We do Student of the Month and Citizen of the Month, but really celebrating as the kids have come back to campus, a growth in a lexile. You know, the most improved students, those ones that are not the top of your class. You know, some of those may be the behavior challenged kids, but if you have a kid that has improved his lexile and he's being diligent or she's being diligent about their work, a small little token of appreciation, an I see you type of thing. And so that's really what we're going to look at second semester is, yes, we have our awards for the kids, but really the ones that are the day-to-day, the ones that have put the work in, and we want to recognize them and really connect the parents with it as well, showcase them on social media, and really let them know that we're proud of them. I mean, for some kids, it's showing up to school every day or not being tardy, things that are not necessarily in their control, but identifying who those kids are, how can we connect with them, what can we do to help them, and then reward them, kind of along the PBIS lines. This is our first year with PBIS. We have changed over from what we used to be to now our slogan. We have Matadors with Merit. So really taking that and then running with it, getting some support for some of the behaviors. But like I said, just celebrating the small successes of our kids, letting them know that they are important, we love them, and we're happy that they're there with us. That's kind of what I want to focus on.
No, I love that too, Sean. The idea of PBIS, guys, the way you're sharing that, I think it's so important. I know it's becoming like just another trendy topic that people are throwing out there and trying this and that, but I think both of you are saying it works, right? At a high school level, it's working. At a middle school level, it's working, and it's going to continue to work. Build that community, build that culture and climate of your school that you want. And as long as the staff is on board, I don't see it stopping. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but at least that's the vibe I get.
Yeah, I think when, again, coming from a teaching lens just a couple of years ago, I know that, like, how do I manage this when I'm doing those things? And I think that's the way we've pitched it. Like, here's something that we believe in, that we've built with a selected group of teachers that have wanted to attach to this, but really, like, it's created by your peers. We feel like it's manageable. I think that's such a powerful word because, it's a balancing act. There's a lot of stuff going on there. We really want to make, like, this is what we value. We're going to focus on this. And we feel like these are things that are still, like, you're capable of doing. So, and making sure that we roll it out correctly, because I think rollout is everything when you share new ideas. And I've learned that good and hard ways.
Yep.
So.
Got to take your lumps. Well said, Marty. Well said.
I definitely think it's interesting when the time that we're in, right? Like you said, Sean, just coming back to campus, right? Like that's wild right there in and of itself. So I think, what I'm definitely passionate about is not slipping back into some of these things that just don't make any sense anymore, right? We know that kids can learn anywhere. We got to make the school, we got to make this a special place. And how do we do that? It's all these little things waking up at once, right? We got our sports back. We got our concerts back. We got our play back. We're going through all these things. And I think it's important that our kids know that this is something to be proud of. You come here every day. And that's what I'm passionate about. I want to see. I'm not sure exactly how it works. I don't have this answer, and I'll put that out to everybody out there that's watching. How do we make the kids? This is your spot too. You own it. Student led. You're doing it. Because sometimes, and I love the PBIS idea, and I think it's great to incentivize things. But sometimes, when it's top down, when adults choose that, it becomes artificial. And kids don't buy in. All they got to do is buck the system. That's their default mode, right? Oh, that's corny. Whatever. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. And then it loses momentum. And then staff does the same thing. And I've seen it happen that way, and I've seen it happen the other way too, where everybody's on board. This is awesome. We're getting Chick-fil-A. I'm in. Like, so it is about that hook. It is about that thing too. But I also want to make sure so the kids who come to school and aren't in the play or aren't in this, what niche do I have for them? What lane can I get for these kids that don't necessarily have our traditional lanes, but I like esports. That's coming back in the spring, and at the middle school level, that was a lot of work. So I want to see that happen. I'm always trying to just pitch to my principal different stuff, like a debate club or like a different sort of club. The clubs and the things that our kids are passionate about, those are the things that make me excited to see the kids that, okay, at school we can offer this. We got a magic club this year. They're doing sleight of hand tricks. That's fun. And it's not like, it's a Magic the Gathering. It's not like playing that kind of card game. It's like legit Magic. So you'd be surprised what some of the kids will go for and do. And that's kind of what I'm passionate about, taking this idea of traditional schooling, the grammar of schooling, and expanding it outside the box, just like we did a year and a half ago. We turned on a dime and switched that up. Look what we can do. Like, look what we can do out here.
I love it. Nice positivity there, Mike. Nice positivity. All right, so you guys, one more question. You good for one more? All right, so Josh threw this at us, Mr. Tovar. He wants to hear how, because we talk about relationships, how we deal with discipline, and if a teacher doesn't agree, how do we help with the climate issues that might come if they don't agree with discipline issues? So, since all deal with discipline on a daily basis, what do we do in a situation where we put the discipline out there and the teacher's not happy, whether we send the kid back to class or we don't give them the attention that they were hoping for? What do you guys do in that situation to kind of work with the teacher, have that relationship, and all make sure that they're not angry with you going forward? That doesn't happen for me. No, never. So I can't speak to this one.
We have a dean of students at the high school that kind of takes care of like the kind of lower behavior stuff, like a cell phone issue, stuff like that sometimes, or like if kids are acting out in the classrooms. But we have a good relationship with her, and we'll touch base and we see when like referrals or stuff comes through. But lots of times for me, I guess, like before I make any, like, this is what we're doing, and it might be different at the high school because the kids do transition from class to class. Like, it's not elementary, they're not in there like for a majority part of the day. Before, if I feel like if it's up in the air, I feel like the teacher doesn't feel comfortable with it, I try to like say, well, what do you think you'd like to see come from this? Like, what's going to help you not, like, I don't want to damage your relationship with the student, or what kind of connection have you had with this student in the past? I guess trying to, like, again, I've only been doing this for a while, and we got a lot of teachers that have a lot better ideas than me and have a lot of good solutions. So I guess I just kind of put it back to them, like, well, what do you want to see come from this? Like, what's gonna help this kid continue to learn? What's gonna help them find success in the classroom? I don't want to damage anything by making this decision, and sometimes it's a little difficult because, and I kind of stated this earlier to you guys, like, some of the rules are so black and white, like you can't do this, you can't do that, and you try to stick to that framework. But when the situation calls for it, and if you're really worried, like the question out there, like about what a teacher thinks about it, as an administrator, I have to be like strong enough to go, you know what, I can go to this teacher, and I have to be like wise enough to go, let me hear what they're saying about it, not to say like I'll make a knee-jerk reaction. So I think spending that time catching them on their prep before school, after school, circling back with it. Again, we make investments of time, and I think that's an investment of time that like all administrators need to get to take with their teachers to get on the same page, or at least closest to it as possible.
It's a great question, and I would imagine, in hearing the different roundtables, discipline is and behaviors are very different now than they were pre-pandemic. And so I find it as a balancing act, because I do want to talk to the kid. I do want to get their side of what was going on, what's the context of it, and then really not making that knee-jerk reaction, but looking at the matrix, looking at the context of the situation. If I know that kid, if there is a history there, it's not as black and white as some may think. And so, yeah, I do get in some hot water, especially when, the kid is sent back to class, but there's a follow-up. So one thing I'll be transparent, I'm not always the best at communicating that follow-up. Like, we don't have the triplicate forms where I can send back to the teacher to say, hey, parent was notified, or kid's going to come back and see me. So that piece is missing, and that's something we're working on as a school, because the teachers do want to know what the follow-up was, even if it's just something small. What is your intent with this kid? Yesterday, for example, I had a teacher bring one of the students to see me. And after my conversation with the student, it was as simple as having that student, I escorted him back to that teacher's classroom, and they had a conversation. He apologized to the teacher for his behavior. And that meant a lot to her. She wasn't looking for like a consequence. She just wanted to know that it was being handled. And so, she sent me an email after and just said, I didn't realize that that's what I wanted. That was so awesome just to hear the kid. And you could see it in his face. He's like, I'm going where? I have to go do what? Like, yeah, you have to go back and you have to address that teacher face to face. And sometimes that is more than a lunch detention or a phone call home. And obviously we notified the parents, but sometimes it's just as simple as that. Sometimes what's the situation? Discipline it's not easy. It is a balancing act, and it is that look at the kid. What is going to be most effective for this particular student on this particular day at this particular time for this moment. They're all not. Sometimes you have to treat them all the same, but in that situation, it was good to just kind of let the kid chill. We'll have a conversation, go address it, and he went on his way. And no more issues today. And so I checked in, followed up with that teacher. So like I said, that email was good. That was like a pat on the back, but not a way that I was expecting. She just was like, I have to just tell you that meant a lot to me. So it goes back to that building a relationship.
Mm-hmm. I think just hearing both of you, the way you handle situations, it's key. All discipline is meant for one reason, to deter the behavior. If I'm giving discipline for the sake of it, it doesn't make sense. If it's not going to deter the behavior, what's the point? And that's where you get into this relationship sometimes with your staff that is like, he didn't do that. Well, how come? What's going on here? There's something wrong. No, you have to tailor it first. But I think most importantly for me and my staff, my faculty, I'm going to communicate. I'm going to try to be as consistent as possible. If you get removed from classroom behavior, I saw a question in the comments over here. If you get removed from classroom behavior, I am not sending you back to class that period. It's just to me that's my system. That's how we've done it, right? So I'm not sending you back that period. And if you get removed from classroom behavior prior to lunch, you got the lunch attention with me that day. The consequence is immediate. If it's after lunch, it's lunch attention the next day. But I'm always communicating with the teacher, because if you were kind of sent out for behaviors and the behavior protocol was followed, you got 3 warnings and now they sent you out for that. That's one thing. I'm gonna put my system in place. I'm gonna give the lunch attentions. I'm gonna contact home, my faculty, my staff. They know that. If it's the teacher off and was completely disrespectful, threw a desk on the way out, that's a different story. That's a different set of circumstances in which I have to do different things, right? You're not going to disrespect the classroom, make it unsafe, and do that sort of thing. I'm contacting your parents, and we have a different level of discipline there. But I still want to hear from my faculty, their side of the story. I need the adult version of this. So we have something called an FYI form. So the FYI form comes through, and I get the teacher's version right there of exactly what happened in their words. And a lot of times I use that FYI form when I'm calling the parent. Now I come and have the kid in my office, and I'm having that restorative chat with them. So a lot of times I already know what the teacher's saying. What's your side of the story? So I got two kind of stories going on, and I think somewhere in the middle lies the truth. Mm-hmm. And now if I have an opportunity, which I don't like to interrupt class, but I have to kind of follow up at that point and say like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. This is what's going on. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. And I always talk with my teachers that way, especially if it's a heated conversation or a heated situation with that discipline's coming from, because that's where a lot of times I think you get into this climate piece that was the first part of the question, was if it's really, really bad and the teacher in their head is having an emotional, visceral reaction to what that kid just did, and all he's going to do is call home. Yeah, that's different. So I got to be as detailed as possible. We have that system in place, and I kind of tailor it to where, we do have a systematic protocol, but if it needs more, I want to talk to the teacher. Communicate and be consistent, and I think you avoid a lot of those climate issues that was brought up in the question.
Mike, let me ask you, because I know you're into the idea of restorative practices as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the conversation with the kid. I know sometimes you need the consequence of a suspension, a detention. I know it doesn't always work exactly well with PIS and all that restorative practice. What do you do for the kids during a lunch detention? So for me, I'll lay it out there. I have a decision-making chart that I basically stole off the internet, kind of catered it to what I need. Like, why did you make the decision? What do you need going forward? How can I help you? Just have them write and reflect, so it helps them kind of sit back and not just stare at a wall. It makes them think of the things they did. It's almost like a SMART goal to an extent, but it's more focused on decision making. So do you do anything with the kids during lunch detention, or are they just kind of on their own?
No, yeah. So we have a traditional support room. So in that room, sometimes I got 2-3 kids in there. Sometimes I got one. When it's one, it's great. One-on-one is awesome. So we got a 20-minute lunch period. The first 10 to 15 minutes, it's quiet. It's quiet lunch. We're in here. You got work. You're eating, and I got work to do. This is what we're doing. Those last 5 or 10 minutes are key. We always go over. I have this, learning promise in there, and it's, this is what I expect you to do when you go into class. Avoid arguing with adults. Take care of business. Do your work, and make sure your actions don't disturb the learning environment. We go over that. I'm like, where do we go wrong? Do you remember why you're in here? If somebody walks in this room right now, what were you doing in here? And which one of these are you in here for? We have to own what we've done. That's part of the restorative practice piece. Then I move on to, from the restorative chat, I move on to who's been harmed by this. How can we make it right? And a lot of times the kids, I don't know. And that's where the restorative piece comes in, because it's a focus on the victim. It's a focus on who you've harmed. How are you going to make that right? And I always say that I don't know is not acceptable. It's not acceptable in my office, and it's not acceptable in here. We're having a conversation. You're going to have to try again. So we have to be restorative on this. How are we going to do this? And if they're like, well, I don't know, I said, well, I can't figure that out for you. You know what I want you to do, and I point to those 3 things. And if they do those 3 things, that is restorative. If you avoid arguing with adults, if you take care of business and your actions don't disturb the learning environment, that's restorative in action. In other words, that's an apology of action. So, and it's not, I'm sorry. It's not an apology note. It's not something like that. It's, these are the things that you need to do. These are things I want you to do. Can we do them? And it's more along the lines of, all right, so who's been affected? And how are you going to do this when you get back? What's the plan going in? So it takes that accountability and puts it on its head too, so the kids know what's expected of them going back. So in lunch detention, we are staring at the wall for a minute. Like it's not like, the conversation I'm having with the kids that are coming in, I'm a different sort of, or in the lunchroom, we're talking Celtics and things like that. That's not happening in there. It is kind of quiet at the beginning, but then we move forward from there with the restorative piece.
I like that. Sean, Marty, you guys on the same basis, or you guys something else that you guys do if you have the detention or anything like that?
So yeah, we have lunch detention. Like everything else, it's kind of under review. In the past, it's been sit there for 40 minutes, don't say a word. You say a word, you get kicked out, then you got to reserve it. That wasn't working.
Right.
You get some kids that are caught in the cycle of never-ending lunch detentions, which then taking away from their socialization, their unstructured time. I wouldn't want to do that, and then they start skipping, and now you have a whole other issue.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, so I've kind of shortened it to 20 minutes, very similar to Mike. You go in, don't say anything for 10, 15 minutes, then they can eat. This last time I had them write a letter, to mom or dad. I'm in here because blank. And they had their little slip. And so did you accumulate too many tardies? Were you defiant? Did you do something unsafe? And we kind of walked through. It's been interesting. That actual activity was eye-opening, because some of the kids legit didn't know what they were in there for. They received quotes so many. And it's like, well, I don't know what I'm in here because I think I was rude to the teacher. And it's like, all right, well, let me go back to what I'm saying. I pull up the sheet. Here's what your teacher said. It was during 4th period. You yelled slurs across the classroom, like similar to Mike. Like, what in the world were you thinking? What? And then you find out it's like the teacher didn't hear me, or, I was frustrated, or I'm just having a bad day. And you see that they were acting out, and they got the detention, and, we go from there. So very, very similar. I want to pull the counselor in eventually as part of this restorative piece. We have second step that we adopted this year. which is the program that walks them through those lessons. So really starting to make groups of kids that are serving lunch detention for a similar infraction, and really moving forward with that piece, so that it's not just taking away their lunch just because, that they're actually getting something out of it. Hopefully.
That's awesome. Thanks, Sean. Marty, go ahead.
Yeah, no, like, so I would think, what I'm hearing from Mike and Sean, you guys probably do like a lot better job at that stuff right now than we do. Like, being a large high school, it's like, yep, take your lunch detention, you're with the dean of students, it's your 20 minutes. Majority of kids are in and out. Like, they get it once and they don't want to return back to that room again. Like, they figured it out. And for the kids that become like the frequent flyers, we have some kids that like they like being in that room almost too much. We're like, okay, we want you to get back into with your peers, want you to get back at the classrooms and things like that. But some of the things I heard you guys say, like, yep, reflective conversations. I writing down some notes, like you said, avoid arguing with your teacher. Like I always say, TCB, take care of your business. Like same thing they were kind of saying before, Mike, is trying to find ways to like just build rapport with the student. It gives me a chance when I can step into those spots, get to know their name, and I'll say, hey, I'll joke around like, hey, what are you in here for? Like it's a prison sentence, and like, what, like, oh, something happened. I'm like, why don't you tell me what happened? Or if they're done eating, I'll say, hey, let's go take a walk really quick. We'll take a loop around the lower level just to have that kind of active brain conversation. So we have a ways to go, but I am happy to say on 2 different occasions this year, I've sat down with a couple of kids and had some like restore to kind of repair the harm conversations. And, one of the students, when it was all done, he goes, Mr. Ty, he's like, I don't feel any better about the situation after we did this. And I said, did you get to tell them your opinion? Yep. Did you hear their opinion? Do you understand them? Yep. I said, I think we took the first step. You listened to each other. That's really what this is about. Like, it didn't have to end with a bro hug or rainbows or thing like that. We're just listening to each other. And I think that's my favorite thing about being an associate principal, is like working with students, helping them become a better version of themselves. Again, just making those small little investments every day. Like we don't always do it right, and we don't always do it perfect. Oak Creek. Like that's how I feel about it as an AP personally, and like on my professional practices, but just continue to revisit these conversations and these practices. So it's been really great to hear how other people are tackling these very similar things every day. So it's making me feel a little more sane. So that's good.
Well said, Marty. And I think that's the best part about this, is Mike continues to say, this is the best part of the PD that we get every year. And, we're learning and growing from each other, and we're just going to continue to blossom and do some new things for our schools. And I think these conversations are really, really helpful. So look, we're at the 50-minute mark. I promise you guys, like 35, 40 minutes. And I don't care, because I think we really had some great stuff here. So before we close out, why don't you guys go around real quick? Sean, I'm going to start with you. Tell the listeners where they can find you, all your socials, wherever you are, and hopefully they can connect.
Alrighty. Yeah, thanks for the chat and for hearing me ramble on in times. I like to talk. My Twitter handle is Mr. Jaramillo5, and on Instagram it's Mr. J Superheroes. I haven't changed it from when I was a teacher yet. I haven't been able to think that far in advance and kind of make the transition, but yeah, I'm on Instagram and Twitter.
There you go. Marty, how about you? Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at MJ Latai, LATAILLE, and then I run our school's like OCHS Nights Instagram page, and I kind of use that just to every day drop in all the great stuff that teachers are doing, staff are doing, pictures, promos, reports, all that good stuff. So I make it all about the school as much as possible, all the great work that teachers are doing every day.
Very cool. I'm going to follow that and check that out. Mike, AP Mike, tell us where you're at.
Twitterland, I'm at AP Mike Lavelle. I'm also on LinkedIn at Michael Lavelle too. That's where you can find me out there in social media world.
I have to get Mike on Instagram. And you can find me everywhere. AJ Bianco, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. I'm all over the place. Happy to share my journey and tell the kids I'm all over the place, because I want them to see how to use social media the right way. So you can follow me, AJ Bianco. Check me and Mike out here, and Ryan will be back on the 21st of December. And we look forward to some more conversation. This is awesome, guys. Thank you, Marty, Sean, Mike, as usual.
Thanks,
everybody. We'll check you out there. We're going to end the broadcast. You guys hang around. Everybody else, see you on the 21st.
See you.
Bye, guys.